Welcome back. If you're a parent, advice books are, so easy to find. They're a dime a dozen. But if you are a gay parent of a gay child, they are much harder to find. So when his son came out as gay at the age of 15, our next guest decided to write his own. Please welcome the author of Gay Like Me, A Father Writes to His Son, Richie Jackson. So good to have you with us, Richie.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, Richie, as Marcy mentioned, this book was inspired by the moment when your son Jackson came out to you 5 years ago when he was 15. So, can you tell us more about how his coming out to you helped shape this book?
When our son was 15, he told us he was gay, and I was elated. I had wanted him to be gay. I had hoped he'd be gay. It was my greatest wish. But then he said, "Daddy, being gay is not a big deal. My generation doesn't think it's a big deal." And I thought, oh no, being gay is a really big deal. It's the best thing about me. It's the most important thing about me. And I didn't want him to grow up to be one of these people who diminishes it or who demeans it by saying gay doesn't define me, I just happen to be gay. If he did that, he would not take full advantage of the gift that it is. So I started to think about what I had to tell him about what it means to be a gay man. And then Donald Trump was elected in 2016 and brought with him to Washington Mike Pence, both more of an imminent threat to our son than ISIS and North Korea. Now I had to warn him about what it takes to be a gay man in America.
Let's go back, Richie, to the year 2000, the year that Jackson was born. And he was born using a paid surrogate during a time when really many people didn't even understand that. They didn't understand a lot about same-sex parenting. And on top of all of that, you found out that your surrogate was going into premature labor halfway across the states. So if you can, tell us about that night, Richie, and the challenges that you faced.
Back in 2000, we were really, my boyfriend, B.D. Wong, and I were pioneers of it. Was very rare. And our surrogate lived in California. We lived in New York. Back then in the States, there was one judge who would put same-sex couples' names on the birth certificate as the parents. And that judge was in California. So our surrogate had to be in California in order for both our names to be on the birth certificate. We were across the country. She was carrying identical twins. And then on May 28th, I got a call from BD, who was visiting her, that she was having contractions and they were going to the hospital. She wasn't due till August 16th. And then he called me later that evening at 1 a.m, New York time, to say the babies were born, they were boys, and our firstborn son had died, and that they had whisked our second son off to the neonatal intensive care unit, where I flew out the next morning to see him.
Wow. I mean, I can't even imagine that kind of an experience, but that wasn't the only obstacle that you had to face. There was at one point when your son needed blood and you found out that you couldn't give him blood. You weren't able to donate your own blood because of the ban on blood donations from gay men that still is in effect in the United States and Canada as well. So you called this event a real smackdown. Let's talk about what you meant by that, and what are your thoughts on the blood ban today?
Our son needed a blood transfusion. He was very, very ill, near death. The first time I met him, the doctor said to me that he would not survive. So we were told he needed a blood transfusion, and we were not allowed to donate our blood. We were not allowed to take care of our new baby the way we had pledged to, the way we promised we would. And it is because of this discriminatory law that bans gay men from donating blood. We are still, decades after the ban went into effect, being discriminated against as diseased, as dirty, as untrustworthy. And there is no medical reason for gay men to be banned from donating blood. None. And every medical association has said so.
Richie, you say when you speak to Jackson, you tell him that being a gay man in America requires double vision. Tell us what that means.
One of the things my book does, and I feel, that I have tried to raise our son with good gay self-esteem. And part of being an LGBTQ person is having this double vision. In one view, here in the States, you have to keep clear about how this country treats us, how they see us, how the laws adversely affect us, how the hate crimes are on the rise. And in your other vision, you need to keep your beautiful gayness, your beautiful idea of your queerness. And you cannot allow the two to intersect or to let America's view spoil my own view, my son's view, our community's view of ourselves. They have to be held separate, but at the same time. It is the daily exhausting work of being LGBTQ.
You also don't shy away in this book from conversations around sex, around dating, and at one point you explore your sort of conflicting thoughts about dating and hookup apps. Let's talk about what you feel like are some of the pros and cons of those apps, especially like as a parent.
As a parent, this is my conflict in the book is I want my son to experience all of the exciting adventures you could have sexually. And on the other hand, I'd like him to meet a nice guy, settle down, get married, and have grandchildren for me. The hookup apps, on the one hand, I think are really great because when I was young and when I was just beginning to date and meet people, it had to be in a bar. It was the only place we saw each other. We were able to meet each other. So alcohol was always around when in our meeting places. The idea that you could meet not fueled by alcohol, not in an environment with drugs and alcohol, I think could be really healthy. The problem is hookup apps aren't, you're not evaluating the person's mind, you're not able to see whether there's chemistry, you're not looking at their attributes beyond how many abs they have, what their appearance is. And what I say in the book and what I've said to my son is if you can so easily swipe past somebody, just remember somebody can so easily swipe past you too.
Richie, you've since parted ways with BD and you're now married to theater producer Jordan Roth. You have had another baby via surrogacy named Levi. Are there any challenges that are unique, not only being a same-sex parent, but also being part of a blended family?
It's interesting. When I met Jordan, he thought it was going to be so complicated to have a blended family, and it hasn't been that complicated. It was mostly complicated for Jackson because he really didn't like the schedule, the mixing, going from one home to the other. Now that we have a now 4-year-old and a 20-year-old, parenting is the same. We didn't let Jackson watch TV. We didn't let him have screens. And we expect this, we're going to raise Levi the same way. But what's changed is the world's gotten so mean. And everybody is loaded for bear now. It seems everybody is a disciplinarian. And the challenge I'm having as a parent the second time around is, given my despair about what's happening in the world, is how do I hold that off to parent with the requisite optimism required to do a good job? How do I get on the floor and play trains with Levi when I'm so scared about what's happening in our world. And that's the parenting challenge I've been facing every day.
Richie, thank you so much for joining us today. It's really been a pleasure talking to you.
I love talking to you. I hope you and your family stay well.
You too. Richie's book, Gay Like Me, is available right now. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.